Both President Putin and President Trump, time and again, keep saying us that N-word is forbidden in diplomatic and geopolitical negotiations. And saying N-word, they meant nuclear. But let's dive in what Putin today on October 2nd, 2025 told to Russian people and to the whole world on his speech today at Valday Forum in Sochi. So speaking on Valday Discussion Club, Russian President Vladimir Putin asserted that global stakes are extremely high and criticized the West for rejecting Russia's two historical bids to join NATO, attributing the refusal to geopolitical and historical stereotypes. President Putin delivered a speech at 22nd annual meeting of the Valday International Discussion Club conference. He stated that in the current global situation, the stakes are extremely high and that the nations are no longer willing to play by the rules set from across the oceans. Putin claimed that Russia had announced its readiness to join NATO on two separate occasions, once in 1954 during the Soviet era and again in 2000 during a visit by US President. Putin asserted that both requests received an immediate refusal, which he blamed on the West's inability to overcome geopolitical and historical stereotypes about Russia. Let me remind you, Russian and NATO relation has been continuous since the end of the Cold War, particularly concerning NATO's eastward expansion, which Russia views as a direct security threat. In March 1954, the Soviet Union did submit a formal note proposing to join NATO, an offer that was rejected by the alliance members. The offer was largely seen by Western powers at the time as a diplomatic maneuver intended to disrupt the alliance. In 2000, Vladimir Putin himself has stated he raised the possibility of Russia joining NATO with then US President Bill Clinton, although accounts of the seriousness and formality of this discussion differ. This rhetoric is consistent with a long-standing Russian foreign policy narrative that portrays NATO as an aggressive bloc that has consistently marginalized Russian security interests. President Putin's speech reinforces a core Russian strategic narrative that blames Western-led institutions for current global tensions. By framing Russia as a willing partner that was twice rejected by NATO, he seeks to justify Russia's current foreign policy posture to both domestic and international audience. The statement that the stakes are extremely high and the rejection of externally imposed rules signals Russia's continued commitment to pursuing a sovereign, multipolar world order, challenging the post-Cold War international system. This rhetoric serves to consolidate domestic support and project an image of Russia as besieged nation acting defensively against historical Western intransigence. There is a reason I mentioned the word nuclear in the beginning of the speech. Yes, we did hear from both President Trump and President Putin regarding this big no-no, this big taboo in geopolitical world regarding nuclear. But have you heard the same from European leaders like Starmer, Macron, or Chancellor Merz? My opinion, if someone will use nuclear, that would be a Europe, a fragile Europe, a Europe that on the edge of extermination. Will Russia retaliate? Yes, it will. So I do not exclude this disaster scenario. My name is Vlad Gasparian. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.